Hello, English 3, and welcome back to American Literature. So today we're going to be jumping into a sermon. So something a little bit different than anything that we've read thus far. We did read a speech by Red Jacket, just somewhat similar to a sermon, but obviously sermons have very religious notes, as they are religious teachings that are usually spoken out loud. And so this is a written down or recorded version of a sermon called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards. And if you're thinking that sounds kind of angry and harsh, it is. So we're basically going to be analyzing this today and looking at argument and how our author, Jonathan Edwards, builds an argument. So first thing I want you to do is just on a piece of paper, just get something out somewhere. I want you to just go ahead and jot down anything that you can think of when you hear the word Puritan. This might be something you're familiar with and it might not. So if you don't know, just make some guess based on the name. So when you hear Puritan, what do you think? Do you know anything about that? Does the name kind of make you think of any other words that you might associate it with? So just jot a few things down. Okay. And after you do that, on Google Classroom, there is a attached YouTube video called The Puritans by the Daily Bell Ringer. It looks like this. Basically, all I'm wanting you to do is to watch this. It just gives a really quick overview of who the Puritans were, some things they believed in and did. So I want you to just watch this to get a better idea of what Puritans are. And in a nutshell, Puritans are a denomination of Christianity that believe that they are sent to purify the church. So that's kind of their whole thing is purity and purifying. And so we will be reading Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, which is a Puritan sermon today. What we're going to be doing is on Google Classroom under Arguments, Jonathan Edwards. And essentially, I just want you to pick a section of this text and do 3 things with it. So I have very quickly broken down, and it's also broken down on the actual Google Classroom post of the different pages. It's literally just 2 pages, so 431 to 432. And if you go to this PDF, the numbers are up here. Or I think they actually also are on this side, so that's the numbers. There's not 400 pages, don't worry. So just pick a section. That is, I'm not going to make you do all of it. Pick a section, whatever one you want. Pick one at random. Pick one that looks interesting. Feel free to choose any of them. And then with the section of the sermon that you read, I want you to do 3 things. So first of all, I want you to make an outline of Edward's main points in the section that you read. So literally do something along the lines of 1, 2, 3. So whatever those main points are. Summary of the section. After you do the main points, this will be really easy. What is your summary of this section? What is the just overall like main ideas together? What are they concluding? What's going on in your section? And then other elements of argument/rhetorical devices. Look for at least one example on this, and I'm sure you'll find something that you can use. But how is he arguing for this? Is he using repetition? Is he building an argument kind of like step by step, kind of building it up? Is he appealing to emotions? Is he appealing to logic? What exactly is happening? So I'm going to just read through this first page right here on the PDF and to show you exactly how I want you to do this. So, sinners in the hands of an angry God, and the verse that it's focusing on is their foot shall slide in due time. As I said, kind of angry and harsh. So I'm going to start reading. In this verse is threatened the vengeance of God on the wicked, unbelieving Israelites who were God's visible people and who lived under the means of grace, but who, notwithstanding all God's wonderful works towards them, remained, as in verse 28, void of counsel, having no understanding in them. Under all the cultivations of heaven they brought forth bitter and poisonous fruit, as in the next as in the two verses next preceding the text. The expression I have chosen for my text, their foot shall slide in due time, seems to imply the following things relating to the punishment and destruction to which these wicked Israelites were exposed. So essentially, if I were to make main point, think of your main points as following paragraphs, I would probably say something along the lines of so sorry. I'm definitely misspelling Israel. Good old Google helping me out. So, for example, I could say the Israelites deserved destruction, and it was something that would always happen. So it was kind of an inevitable thing. Then our next paragraph, and Edwards does this a lot throughout the sermon. He numbers his points. So if that helps you at all. So number 1, that they were always exposed to destruction, as one that stands or walks in slippery places is always exposed to fall. That is implied in the manner of their destruction coming upon them, being represented by their foot sliding. The same is expressed Psalm 73:18. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou castest them down into destruction. So, point number 2 being so they would always experience destruction. Then in number 2, it implies that they were always exposed to sudden, unexpected destruction, as he that walks in slippery places is every moment liable to fall. He cannot foresee one moment whether he shall stand or fall the next, and when he does fall, he falls at once without warning, which is also expressed in Psalm 73:18-19. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou castest them down into destruction. How were they brought into desolation as in a moment? So, our next point is, sorry, I'm forgetting to turn off my underline. Said destruction is random, so it could happen at any time. It could be unexpected. Then number 3, another thing implied is that they are liable to fall of themselves without being thrown down by the hand of another, as he that stands or walks on slippery ground needs nothing but his own weight to throw him down. So our next point could be so the destruction is caused by the human being. So it's not, Edwards is arguing that it's not God that is perhaps throwing these people into destruction, as he is saying, but that it is something that they would be kind of bringing upon themselves, if you will. All right, and then number 4, the reason why they are not fallen already and do not fall now is only that God's appointed time is not come. For it is said that when that due time or appointed time comes, their foot shall slide. Then they shall be left to fall, as they are inclined by their own weight. God will not hold them up in these slippery places any longer, but will let them go, and then at that very instant they shall fall into destruction, as he that stands on such slippery declining ground on the edge of a pit. He cannot stand alone. When he is let go, he immediately falls and is lost. So, when God's appointed time comes, see, if you're ever worried about making mistakes, just watch me type. You will learn that everyone makes mistakes when they type. But when God's appointed time comes, humanity will be thrown into destruction suddenly. So we have main points, and so that's all you need to do is just paragraph by paragraph outline what the main point of that paragraph is. Then for the summary, just kind of put it all together. So if I were to summarize my main points, I would say something along the lines of Edwards is using the verse, I'll have to, toggle back over here. So Deuteronomy 32:35, their foot shall slide in due time, to argue about humanity's destruction. And he argues that this destruction will be sudden, it will be random, and it will be caused by human nature. He also argues that it is only God's will that humanity has not been thrown into destruction already. So something like that is your simple summary of a section. Then, for other elements of argument / rhetorical devices, you may have different answers actually for this section than I would. But the main thing I notice when I read this first section with these main points is that the argument builds on itself. So first it's talking about how the Israelites would be, I forget how I phrased my main point, that they deserved destruction, yes. And then that they were always going to be exposed to that destruction, and then that destruction was going to be unexpected, and then that it would be caused by humanity, and then that it is only because of God that humanity is not already in destruction. So I would argue that Edwards is kind of building his main points in a logical manner to build off of each other, almost as if he's building a logical argument. If you've ever done any reading on those, is what he's doing. So that is as simple as I would put it. I'm not expecting anything fancy. You might have something a little bit more detailed, but that's just something that I would think of as reading this, is just that he's building his argument in these step-by-step points. And I'll be honest, he does that a lot throughout the sermon, so you're welcome to use that if it is true. And that is all you need to do for this. I really just want you, as you're reading this, to be reflecting on that, on the Puritan ideals and how they're connected to what Edwards is saying. Because as I said, this sermon is very angry, it's very harsh, and so how are those things connected to what the Puritans believed and what the Puritans did? And so that's what I want you to reflect on, and that will come in handy, very much so, tomorrow when we read Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So that is all you need to do today. I hope that that makes sense. If you need any help, just let me know, and I would be happy to explain it to you. I hope you all have a good night. Always reach out to me if you need anything.